just got off the ship back in Monday. They have these vans that we transfer into Berlin and Hamburg through the cruise line. It's 139 euros per person. Originally, I think we ended up booking it yesterday because I had spots open for $79 per person. So not bad. And it avoided us having to take the train again. So we sit 2, automatic, 1. Yes. And I've got plenty of leg room in the back. And I'm 6 foot 1 1/4. So.
Is it fine for you when it's a little village with 3-4 houses? And the people are all protesting here about
Picked this up earlier this weekend.
when you buy a car,
Riga, Latvia, I think.
Texas.
It's really good, but we don't have it in the States.
Now we are in Berlin. And I'm ice hockey. Ice hockey is my favorite.
I'm sorry, do what?
They use the card on file.
Yeah.
Yes?
I booked a hotel at the Moxy. It's by Marriott. It's at the Berlin airport. They have a shuttle. It's €3.50 per person, or €3.50 per person. They have a queen size room and 2 twin size rooms. This is the room. And I think it's fairly cheap. I want to say it was like
$98.
yeah, but that included the $30 security deposit. And it does not include breakfast that most European hotels don't. I checked us in while we were on the ship still last night. And I asked what time we were gonna arrive. I put 10 a.m. So we had to meet at 7 a.m. this morning on the ship to board what we thought was gonna be shuttle buses, but were actually like luxury minivans. So we rode with another couple from Monday to Berlin. I think it took us about 2.5 hours. What time is it now?
Until 11.
It's 10:48 now. So we're dropping off our stuff and then heading to Berlin for the day. And here's my room. They didn't have any more twin rooms, so I just got a queen, outlets on both sides. I did want to add, so I am a Marriott Bonvoy member, and because I checked in last night and I had obviously logged into my account. She said that's why we were able to check in so early. So check-in's not technically until 3, but I put that we were going to be arriving at 10 a.m. So our room, I got a notification on the drive here that said our room was ready. I think it was just before 8 a.m., which was great. So we were able to come and drop our stuff off in the room instead of having to lug it around Berlin. Our Uber driver just dropped us off at Flak Towers. We've got a tour at 1. We've got about 30 minutes to find some food for lunch because we haven't eaten yet today. Found a Dunkin' Donuts right across from where our tour is meeting at Flak Towers, so we're walking over now. We found the tower. Now we're just finding the meeting spot for our tour. That is the blue and white sign that you're supposed to follow to the meeting point for the Berlin Underworld tour of the Flak Towers. They do have stairs. There's 149 stairs. You can go up to the top, or they've built basically they've built a park around the rubble of the 2 towers that were destroyed. But you can it's much easier to take the sidewalk than it is to go up all those stairs. Unfortunately, we weren't able to record or take pictures while we were in there. I'll see if I can try and find some online, but if you're interested in taking the tour, just look up Berlin Underworld think it's actually in German, Berliner Underworld. I'll try and keep it in the link of the description of this video if you're interested. That's how they don't get any funding from the government to run those tours. Basically all their funding in order to maintain the inside and have a safe place for people to come in and tour is booking tours like we did today. I can't remember how much I paid right now, but when I get back and edit this video, I'll be sure to put it what the actual cost was. I want to say it was like 21 euros per person, so not bad. And it's an hour and a half tour.
Sorry to say that they also marched through in 1864 after defeating Denmark, but I didn't want to bring it up, basically through war. And after Germany is created by war, you would have a period of 43 years of long, boring peace. So, which side, now, who thinks we're in the former east right now? Put up your hand. Who, is this, okay. Well, that's not an option. I don't want to kick you off the tour, but I will. We would have Ronald Reagan, who would give maybe an even more famous speech. He would be addressing his counterpart in the Soviet Union, or second balcony. That is where Michael Jackson held out his baby in 2002. Reason why I mention this, for some people, this is the highlight of the tour. And if that's you...
Alright, I'm gonna catch you up. We booked a walking tour through Viator. Sorry, I'm a little distracted. There's a lot of protests going on here today. But we're doing a walking tour through Berlin. We just started at the gate. The Brandenburg Gate is where we just started.
We're going to cross over from the former east on the side to the former west on the side. And the way that they divided the city was by district. We're going to leave the district of Mitte here, which was all the Soviet sector. We're going to enter this district over here, which was the former British sector of Viator. So that's what we're going to come across over. The other thing you might notice, this traffic light man is different in Berlin. He's the old East German traffic light man. It's called the Untitled.
Trying to get the traffic light.
We just crossed over. Keep an eye out for this.
This is where the Berlin Wall used to be.
The entire way around West Berlin.
Separating east from west. We ate lunch at McDonald's after the Flak Tower tour, and then took an Uber. However, but some of the roads were closed because of the protests, so we had to hop out and power walk. We were just a couple of minutes from being late and left, so glad we made it in time. You can hear the protests now.
Reichstag Building behind me. It's going to be tough. Reichstag Building behind me. This is the German Parliament building. We're going to take a look here. This is what the Parliament building looked like at the when it was first built in 1894. This is what it looks like. The building would be a target of the Nazis. And the target would be basically because it represents democracy, right? The Nazis are not for democracy. They are against it. They want kind of a dictatorship, the rule of just one party. Now, this party was created, the Nazi party was created in January 1919 by a locksmith called Anton Drexler in Munich. General, right? And he underestimates Hitler because he thinks Hitler, lower middle class Austrian corporal, right? He's not like a general, not aristocracy. He's never going to come to power. There's no harm in bringing him into government, and we can puppeteer him and use him for how we want. That's what they plan to do. However, obviously, it doesn't go so well. As soon as Hitler is brought into government, he calls for new elections. In the middle of those elections, though, on the 27th of February, this building is set on fire. It is set on fire by a deranged Dutch communist. His name is Maurits van der Lubbe. The actions of one man. This is the actions of a kind of left-wing terrorist, right? However, the Nazis say this isn't just the actions of one man. It is political. It is the work of our political opponents, particularly the German Communist Party. What do we need to do? We need to lock up the communists. Over the next year, they'll lock up 200,000 of their political opponents. And with so much of their political opposition in jail, they're able to change the constitution. Rings here. The first ring is the Ringbahn, the train that goes all the way around Berlin. That's the first line of defense. The second line of defense is created by the river. The river Spree is here. And then there is a canal about 2 kilometers away from here, right? So in between these are like, this is the most defensible part of Berlin. And you can see here, this is the Reichstag Building. Look at the size of this building, right? It's going to be very difficult to take. If the Soviets want to actually take this building, first they have to cross a bridge. This photo is taken in the sky over here. You can see that in the foreground there is a bridge. The bridge is called the von Moltke Bridge. There's about 800 meters in this direction, right? The Soviets reached this bridge on the 26th of April. They are met by a fierce German counterattack to push them back across the bridge. Then the Germans plant explosives on the bridge, detonate the bridge, and the bridge still stands. It is a well-engineered German bridge. It is German engineering working against the German defenders. Fight to the top, and they fly the flag over the Reichstag. This photo, this is a famous photo taken here. This is taken between, you can see it says Dem Deutschen Volke, for the German people. Between there and where we are, on this side of the building, but on the back side, this is where this famous photo is taken. So this is then the end of the Second World War. Within a week, the Nazis signed a capitulation agreement to end the war. Right? Like to be in Berlin during the Second World War. It was terrible as a civilian because Berlin was the most bombed city during the Second World War from 1943 to 45. 363 bombing raids over Berlin. In between those bombing raids, people would be down in their kind of basements and they would be talking with one another what might happen at the end of the war, right? Who is going to win, right? It's not going to be Germany, right? But who will be the ones to occupy Berlin? Will it be the Americans and the British still fighting under the rules of war, or will it be the hated option, the Soviets? Because remember, the Soviets were invaded. They were invaded with a war of annihilation, and Germans know that there's been a brutal fighting. Are the Soviets going to come in and do the same thing to the Germans that had been done to them? And that is why there is a saying in these basements, optimists learn English, pessimists learn Russian. So which is it going to be? Well, it's the pessimists who are right. It is the Soviets who are right. Unlike what we could fear, though, there would not be a mass slaughter of civilians. In fact, the Soviets would come in and actually feed the population, but it would... We are going to walk through the memorial. Important to point out that the Nazis were conspiracy theorists. The conspiracy that they believed in, it's called the International Jewish Conspiracy, and this conspiracy basically blamed Jews for anything that the Nazis didn't like. Losing the First World War, world capitalism, world communism, everything was the Jews' fault, right? And in this way, the Nazis would kind of dehumanize Jewish people. There wouldn't be people, right? Instead, there would be kind of like cartoon villains. The dehumanization process is very important for what would happen later on. And basically they would use propaganda as soon as they came to power to basically dehumanize and alienate Jewish people from German life. Less than 1% of the population, but as far as the Nazis are concerned, there is a Jewish question, as in what do we do about the Jews? And initially they started to answer this question by using economic sanctions, outlawing Jewish people from working for the government, working as lawyers, doctors, vets. In 1935 they were passed the Nuremberg race laws, and this would determine who was Jewish and who was not.
Maybe it's an emergency for the subway nearby.
Maybe.
Way out.
I appreciated that they haven't graffitied all over.
There's actually an anti-graffiti covering that's on it, like a chemical. which he calls the Wolf Slayer, and he's the wolf. It's a nickname he gave to himself. Never trust a man who gives himself his own nickname. Some battles he's overseeing battles during the war, and his health starts to suffer during the war. So like it or not, I'm going to draw you a map. I'm going to draw you a map, and feel free to guess what it is I'm drawing for you here. It is not the wall.
No. It's Berlin.
It is not Berlin. Everyone always says Texas. Why would I draw Texas? Like, I mean, it might look like Texas, but why would I draw Texas? No, it's not Texas. What's more relevant? What would be a relevant?
Is it the train lights?
On your German history tour? That's Germany. Yeah. So look, the whole aim is to then divide up Germany to basically denazify the country, right? So it's only supposed to be temporary. But they divide it into 4 zones of occupation. The first of these, this is the eastern sector, the agricultural heartland of Germany, where they grow all the potatoes. Which of these powers wants all the potatoes? Which of these powers wants the potatoes? Soviets, Russians, yeah, of course. They're going to take all the potatoes for themselves. Then we get this big northern expanse, the most overcast and rainy part of Germany. Who wants that?
British.
The British, of course, yes. Then we get these 2 regions, the lovely wine-growing regions of Germany. Who wants that? France. And then in the south, where Oktoberfest goes on every year. Who loves Oktoberfest? Americans. So Americans are going to take the south. Then we're going to talk about Berlin. Berlin's about there, but we'll draw it nice and big. Berlin's also going to be divided into 4 zones because it is the largest city in Germany. It is the most important city in Germany, right? So this is 40% given to the Soviets, and this is the French, British, Americans sectors. So this is the division of Berlin, the division of Germany. So let's get a bit of more color. This is that's the Soviet sector. That's East Berlin, and this is West Berlin over here. Yeah, so that's the American sector, that's the British, and that's the French. So now we have this lovely divided Germany, lovely divided Berlin, but this alliance between capitalism and communism, it's not a natural alliance, right? And so Joseph Stalin basically sees like a division of Europe taking place. And he's kind of like, well, look, if we're going to divide Europe, well, you can see Berlin is in our zone. Right? So you might as well give it to us, right? The other allies, they don't want to give it to the Soviets. But there is a weakness to West Berlin. Their supplies come through the Soviet zone. So in June 1948, Stalin cuts off all of these roads and the supplies, and he says, you can't come through my zone anymore. And he's hoping that they just say, fine, you can take West Berlin. But instead what they do is fly in all the supplies that they need. Now this is a Cold War dynamic because it almost ends in war, but they don't want to fight a war, right? So instead they fly in all the supplies that they need, and then we're going to see the division of Germany after this point. So after this, the roads are reopened and Germany is divided. These 3 zones here, the French, British and American sectors, will come together to form one country, and it's called the Federal Republic of Germany. So capitalist democracy. On the other side, smaller country, 1/3 of Germany. This is called the German Democratic Republic, or the GDR. This Germany will cut off their border along here. And now along this border we have landmines, tank traps, machine guns, all stopping East Germans moving west. Still is an easy way though, you can move from east to west. Can anybody point it out? What am I talking about here? What's the easy way? Fly from where? From West Berlin, right? Because you can go from anywhere in East Germany. You can go over to East Berlin and then just go to West Berlin right there, and then they will fly you all over the fortifications and into West Germany. Once you land in West Germany, they'll help you find a job, help you find somewhere to live, sometimes even give you a car. It's a pretty attractive proposition. 1949 to 1961, 2.5 million East Germans go west. To give you an idea, that's 20% of the country, and the 20% they most want to keep. We're talking about all the doctors, engineers, walking tour guides, you know, the main people there, right? If they don't do something about this, they're going to lose their entire country. So this is why, without warning, on the 13th of August 1961, 10,000 East German troops march out into the streets of Berlin. What they start doing is rolling out barbed wire. The barbed wire goes 155 kilometers the entire way around West Berlin, cutting the city in two. Now we can imagine if we do this in any city, we do it in Vancouver, we do it in Copenhagen, we do it in London. Once we divide the city in two, could be your best friend on the other side there, could be your family, could be your job. For 60,000 East Germans, they lose their jobs straight away. So huge ramifications, splitting a city in two. With a death strip in the middle there, you can see how isolated that makes little West Berlin, a little island of capitalism in a sea of socialism. Doesn't mean you still can't access West Berlin. There are still free roadways, you can fly in, you can catch a train. The wall isn't stopping the West Germans from getting to West Berlin. It's all about stopping those East Germans. Alright guys, any questions about our map here while we're looking? Okay. So then, yeah, you can always... German reunification, right? But then it would be a long time before you would get reunification. And in fact, the East Germany would kind of harden itself. It would use the Ministry of State Security, the Stasi, to have informants all around, and this would kind of crush dissent, right? Now, at its height, the Stasi would have up to 1 in 7 people could be relied upon for information in the Stasi. And that means in our group, we would have like up to 3 potential informants. Why East Germany ceased to exist. And it has a lot to do with the Soviet Union. Remember before we said, well, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, right? And it is related to Mikhail Gorbachev comes to power in the Soviet Union in 1985. He's a big reformer. One of his big reforms is he's not going to do what happened here. He's not going to use the Soviet army to crush democratic uprisings all around the Soviet Union. But without the threat of Soviet intervention, countries around the Soviet Union, these buffer states, decide we don't want to be communist anymore. Countries like Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Hungary all had democratic uprisings in 1989, and the Soviet Union does not intervene, right? But so that means they become democracies, and this starts to spread to also to East Germany as well. And the people inside of this building, this was the main East German government building. They are concerned because they don't want to give people democracy. If they give them democracy, well, they won't be the leadership of East Germany anymore. But if they do nothing, there is going to be a revolution and they'll be kicked out of power. So it is time to reform or die. They decide to give East Germans one thing that they've been crying out for, that is visas, right? But here we have, this is what it would look like when it was completed. And this building, this was actually built in 1936. It was the largest Nazi office building ever built. And inside here, 7 kilometers of hallways, 2,100 rooms, 17 stairwells. What was this massive building used for? It was basically used to have their air force, right? Remember, as part of the Treaty of Versailles, Germany's not allowed to have an air force, right? This is showing how, like, Germany is just basically ripping up this treaty, and they're saying we're going to build the largest office building to house our air force, right? All right, guys. Here is the wall.
The shade.
Now, it might be your first time seeing the wall. What does everyone think? Large and impressive as you thought it would be? At the top. That makes it very difficult to climb, right? So if you come here at, this would actually be the last fortification before you got into the west. In other words, on the other side over there, that's West Berlin. We're still on the east on this side. So let me show you everything that you'd be up against if you wanted to get over the Berlin Wall. Come over here, guys, just so that we can see everything that we'd be up against. So let's say you're an East German and you want to escape across the wall. right? Well, the first thing is this wall, just here. That would be like 70 meters from this wall here, and it's 2.8 meters tall or 10 feet tall. You climb over that. Now we're in the death strip between the two walls, right? And you've got here. This is an electrified signaling fence. If you touch that, you'll alert the guards. When you jump on the other side, you've got a bed of nails there that will impale your feet. Then you've got a patrol tower, patrol strip, anti-vehicle trench, and then you've got the wall. So not one wall or two, many kind of layers of defense there. And the whole time you're going through that, white sand below your feet, white wall ahead, white lights above you. You're extremely visible to the deadliest thing, the guards. The guards are going to fire a warning shot and then shoot to kill. Driving in one of these, it's called a Trabant. And this would be the car that they produced in 1957. They'd still be producing the same car 33 years later. So pretty good for 1957, not so good for 1990. So let's come on. Okay. Okay. So here we are. Checkpoint Charlie. We talked about why it has this name, Checkpoint Charlie. If you guys don't mind, just come in a little bit closer on that side. That way you're not going to be in the sun. Because this would be the dividing line between the United States and the Soviet Union. This is where they would share a famous land border where they would sometimes swap spies here. Where you would have American soldiers standing there to attention, represented by Sergeant Harper up here. Looking on the other side, you would have Soviet soldiers. So this would be a place of like Cold War tension. But most of the time, this is like not that tense, right? Because they would actually kind of have rules with one another that they sorted out at the end of the Second World War when they were still allies, right? And they would say things like, look, you know, we are together. If your diplomats want to come into the American zone, that's fine. And our diplomats can go into your zone. It was common for American diplomats just to go over and see like an opera performance in the East, right? And with their diplomatic plates, they could just drive straight through. 1961, the wall goes up. And the Soviets are like, hey, we don't want American diplomats coming into our zone anymore. It starts to actually do passport checks of diplomats coming through, depriving Americans of hard-won rights. How's that going to go? Not well. Well, instead of taking this lying down, the Americans start to run military convoys back and forth through the checkpoint to prove that they can go through, to prove that they have rights of access. The Soviets don't like that though, so they start to send military observers, and then the Americans send up tanks, and this is how we get this craziness. The Checkpoint Charlie standoff. So, on both sides of the wall here, they have the same orders. Do not fire, but fire if fired upon. All it takes is one soldier with an itchy trigger finger, and we could add nuclear war here, right? This is part of the reason it's so famous. Obviously, this is not what happened. 16 hours of looking at one another, and they went back their separate ways, right? But this is where nuclear war could have started. So this was a place of division between two rivals. 1990. This one was put up in 1999, and this is just for kind of tourism. This is like the Disneyland of Berlin, right? So here we can see this soldier that was stationed in Berlin, but never at Checkpoint Charlie. This guy is Sergeant Harper. Over here, the sign, you're entering the American sector, also fake as well, right? So this is kind of what I want to leave you with. This is kind of to show you what Berlin has kind of become. Yes, it was like this place of central importance, and now it's kind of more like trying to be kind of a tourist place where we can kind of see and experience these kind of places. My pleasure. Hopefully you didn't find it too hot like me. Everyone seems to be sweating less than me, so that's good. Just a couple of things to finish up. So I still am your tour guide. If you'd like recommendations, things to see, places to go, I'm more than happy to give you some recommendations. If you guys enjoyed the tour, did you guys have a good time?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
We finished our tour. It is 6:27, and we're heading back to the hotel because we've got an early flight out in the morning, and we're exhausted.
I'm tired. What is this you said?
It's gate, but old gate between Ost
Okay.
and West side. Same. The
Oh yeah, that's what we passed earlier, isn't it?
Today we're flying back to North Carolina. They have a shuttle to the airport at the Moxy Hotel, Airport Berlin location. It's actually the shuttle bus for that parking deck over there, but it's $3.50 euros, and it runs about every 30 minutes. We're flying United home this morning. Booked it with our credit card points, and ended up in an economy comfort seat, because we didn't choose a seat, so that's where we got assigned. The airport shuttle drops you off in a parking lot across from the Inner City Hotel, which is in front of the Berlin airport, so you've got a little ways to walk, and not a whole lot of ramps to roll your suitcases up, a lot of curbs.
Müssen aufgrund der Wetterverhältnisse, die Berlin mit viel Regen bevorstehen. Wir möchten schon jetzt darum bitten, dass Sie immer angeschnallt bleiben auf dem gesamten Flug, auch wenn das Anschnallzeichen nicht aufleuchtet. Wir begrüßen Sie nochmal zu.
FAA regulations require you to follow the instructions of our crew members and comply with all posted and lighted signs.
Weights are equipped with slides and should not be used in a water landing unless advised by a crew member. All gate exits.
The cargo bin. That's the reason we came back to the gate. Operations is telling us it shouldn't take much more than about another 5 or 10 minutes and we'll be underway again. Do appreciate your patience.